Emperor Caligula, who ruled the Roman Empire from 37 to 41 AD, became one of the most notorious figures in Roman history. His reign was remembered not only for its cruelty and eccentricity, but also for numerous conspiracies, which ultimately led to his assassination. This story is a blend of facts, rumors, myths, and legends that continue to captivate historians and the public to this day. Caligula and his strange actions. When Caligula ascended to the throne in 37 AD, many hoped he would be a mild and just ruler, as his predecessor Tiberius left behind a terrible reputation. However, in the first months of his reign, the emperor seemingly suffered a severe mental breakdown. He began to display such levels of cruelty and absurd eccentricity that he quickly became the subject of both mockery and fear. One of the most famous actions of Caligula was appointing his horse Incitatus to the position of senator. While this was likely part of his strategy to humiliate the Senate, there were many such actions. His behavior became so destabilizing that even his most loyal servants began to consider the possibility of overthrowing him. Conspiracies and suspicions. It was no surprise that rumors about Caligula's instability and dangerous behavior quickly spread among the Roman aristocracy. These rumors soon turned into real conspiracies. Senators, seriously concerned about their lives and influence, began to organize plans to remove the emperor. One of the first major conspiracies took place in 39 AD. At the center was Senator Cassius Chaerea, who, it seems, believed Caligula's behavior threatened the stability of the empire. Like many other senators, Chaerea was insulted by the public humiliation Caligula subjected the Senate to. He led a group of discontented senators who began discussing the possibility of assassinating the emperor. However, the plot was not carried out, mainly because Caligula frequently changed his residence, and his bodyguards were extremely loyal. But the threat was real, and Caligula, possibly aware of the conspiracy, began taking increasingly paranoid security measures. Tyranny and rumors of secret murders. Caligula not only humiliated his opponents, but also had no hesitation in disposing of anyone he perceived as a threat. Historians and contemporaries mention numerous excesses, including mass executions and torture. One of the most notorious cases was the death of his sister Drusilla, whom Caligula deeply loved, and after her death, he declared himself her divine protector. However, there were rumors that Drusilla had actually been murdered by Caligula, possibly for political reasons or personal motives. Since women in ancient Rome were often victims of political intrigue, the theory of her murder remains a subject of discussion to this day. The most famous murder, the conspiracy and death of Caligula. But the most dramatic moment, of course, was the conspiracy that led to Caligula's death in 41 AD. In this conspiracy, along with Chaerea, several high-ranking senators and officers of the Praetorian Guard were involved. The conspirators' motives were varied. Some were outraged by the emperor's monstrous tyranny, while others were motivated by personal insults or political ambitions. The conspirators decided to act quickly and decisively. On the day of the assassination, while returning from the theater, Caligula found himself in an ambush. He was surrounded by the conspirators, who attacked him with weapons. According to historical accounts, Caligula attempted to flee, but was fatally wounded by several blows. He was killed at the moment when he tried to find refuge in the corridor of his palace. After the assassination, myths and legends. Caligula's death not only brought an end to his brutal reign, but also gave rise to numerous myths and legends. One of the most striking rumors was that after his assassination, the Romans discovered monstrous evidence of his madness in his chamber, including the skulls of people he had executed and strange writings. However, perhaps the most surprising myth was the story that Caligula returned to life after his death. This claim arose because his body was taken to a public place where it was burned. Soon, rumors spread that his resurrection was possible and that Caligula would return to seek revenge. Political legacy of Caligula. Despite the numerous conspiracies and rumors, Caligula's death did not immediately result in a political crisis. His successor, Claudius, was chosen as emperor with the support of the Praetorian Guard. How Caligula's legacy left a deep mark on Roman politics and culture. Even centuries later, his reign became a symbol of tyranny, eccentricity, and madness, and those who conspired against him remained in history as heroes who sought to end one of the most infamous rulers of Rome. Conclusion. The conspiracies against Caligula were not just attempts to remove a single emperor. They represent a story of fear, hatred, and political struggle at the heart of the Roman Empire. Caligula's tyranny gave rise to numerous rumors, myths, and intrigues, some of which remain topics of debate to this day. The conspirators ultimately became the embodiment of the fight against the madness of power, and Caligula's death became a tragedy that would be discussed for years to come.